Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are finishing part 1 of The Way of Kings with chapters 9, 10, and 11, and then we are reading the 3 interludes between part 1 and part 2, wherein, there's Kaladin being sad, there's Kaladin having a flashback to describe why he's so sad, and then there's Kaladin being sad some more, until finally he's not so sad anymore. And then we get a perspective from a guy that we've never met before. We get a perspective from one of Shallan's brothers, and then we get a perspective from our old friend, Seth. So, revisiting that. I'm Data, and with me today is...
Joe and Dac.
Yeah, no Jaymee. She's baking a very important Harry Potter cake.
It's true.
So, it requires a lot of attention to make a good Harry Potter cake. Or a good cake in general, as I know from that episode of Bluey, Duck Cake. So
it's got cookies and cream in it.
Ooh. So yeah, hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
Fear in the blade, the spirits of the fallen faith, scorn and degrade, my legacy and name, bend in the code, to Father Judy long bestowed, burdened by the shame. When order dies, there will be no pride in victory. When honor dies, I will be denied by history. I give my everything, return the reckoning. Glare of the ghost fills my eyes. When honor dies.
So yeah, like 6 whole chapters. Many of them were kind of pretty short, little, especially I guess the interludes are kind of little short slices of life. What did you guys think of these 6 chapters?
Hey, Kaladin finally brassed up. It was good. Good to see. Enjoyed it. So I'm excited to see what comes next for him. Maybe I wasn't supposed to do this, but I did read the title for part 2, so I know the 3 characters that are going to be next. The 3 character names that are going to be next in that section. So
Outrageous.
looking forward to that. Nobody said I wasn't supposed to do that, so I apologize if I wasn't supposed to do that, but I did it. It's done. It hath been done. So I really enjoyed the Kaladin stuff. The interludes were very interesting. I really feel like I only have a solid lead on one of the people, so we'll see if I'm right or not, or maybe we won't. I don't know if Data's just going to tell us after or not, but I feel like I only am pretty sure about one, so we'll figure that out. And then that was pretty much it. It was just Kaladin and the interludes. We also had that, like, I guess was one of the interludes was from Shallan's brother, which was kind of interesting. And then Sveth, that guy's an enigma for sure. He's an interesting character, but I almost feel like he's interesting just for the sake of being interesting. But maybe there is actually some substance to him that will come up again later. But yeah, enjoyed everything I read. So looking forward to reading more.
Which one's your favorite interlude?
I guess just because of the intrigue of you saying we might know these people, the first one. Although the Sveth one was a close second. I didn't really much care for Shallan's brother one. Although it does bring to light some perhaps bad, horrid facts about the kind of person that her dad was, but there's not super definitive talk about what actually he did. So that's somewhat speculation on my part, but it doesn't sound good.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, but definitely the first one's my favorite. And then because they're looking for Hoyd, so that's like some Cosmere stuff. And then the Sveth stuff was also very good.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, the Kaladin stuff is a couple of the chapters at least feel kind of one note to me, but the flashback thing is kind of interesting. So,
yeah, it was interesting to get a view into that. But yeah, I'm more interested in his story going forward. Backstory for character development is of course important, and it sounds like his dad was an interesting character, but I'm definitely interested in what's going to happen to him going forward right now. Like that's my primary interest in the characters. So while I did appreciate the flashback stuff, it wasn't the standout moment to me. The standout moment is what occurs from Syl coming back.
Yeah, no, that's a galvanizing moment. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, a lot of fun. I liked Kaladin and stuff. It was nice. Like the flashback with his dad was really fascinating. Just to like see his younger life, and it was cool. See him just like literally coming up to the brink and then deciding, no, fuck it, and then he comes back and he puts fucking Gary in his place. So yeah, no, cool. Hopefully, like the absolute pain train that Kaladin has been on for the last little while is, if not over, but he's going to make something of it. So that's cool. Interludes, man, I was really happy when I saw Seth came back. I really like that guy. I don't know what to make of, like, it seems like it's meant to be an ominous note that his ends on with the "you have my stone, you must command me," and this random like mugger in the street is just like a really. So unless that turns out to be Hoyd, then I'm just like, why is this so fucking ominous? So, like, he's just a dude who beats people up for money.
It was very mustache twirly. It was like, oh, I see.
It's like if it was a character we knew of or recognized, I'm just like, maybe that would be. But it's just like, this is a dude in a back alley with a knife.
Well, now he doesn't have to beat people up himself. He has somebody else do it for him.
Well, yeah, but it's like he's still just gonna. Like, I mean, I assume it's not going to happen because of who Seth is. But it's like he's great. I've got someone else who could beat people up in the back alley for me. Super. Yeah, Shallan's brother is fucked. That his whole bit where he's just talking about, man, killing things is great, and I'm the reasonable one of my family. I'm like, okay, fuck this dude. And his weird prawn dog was not prepared for that. I know there's the whole, don't assume you know what everything means, and like grass is not grass and tree is not tree, but I wasn't expecting hound to mean fucking crayfish dog.
Yeah, lobster dog. It's fine.
Yeah. Need a dog? Why not Zoidberg?
Yeah.
It's a whooping terrier.
It brings a whole new meaning to like the food lobster dog.
Is that actually a thing?
I was about to say, I don't think I've heard of a lobster dog.
I don't think so, but it's basically the same as a lobster roll.
Okay.
A lobster roll is basically a lobster dog.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, good chapters.
Hey, Dac, say homeowner loan again.
Homeowner loan.
Oh, now you said it in American accent. That's not fun.
All right, yeah, sorry. Homeowner loan.
Nice. Love it.
Okay, sorry, but
yeah, that was one of these other digressions we've had.
Yeah, look, this is a Jaymee-less episode. Be prepared for some possible.
We're gonna go down random alleys.
Oh, we're struggling.
So yeah, Shallan's brother definitely seems to be a little bit not right. That boy ain't right.
Hank Hill. As you might say.
It's very much wrong kid died.
And so it's just and like you say, he's like, and I'm the normal one. So man, all right. Is that including Shallan? Like, is she more abnormal?
He spends his time just like ripping like animals apart. It's like, oh, just give me that. Maybe I can pull the legs off it or something like that. And I'm the normal one, and I'm just like, cool. So fuck this entire family then.
It's like, I love to feel the resistance of it snapping. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, it's a little bit disturbing.
Yep.
I mean, I like to crack my knuckles, but that's different.
Those are your own knuckles.
Yeah, not crab crabs.
I mean, to be fair, I do crack like crab claws, but they're dead when I do it.
Yeah. They're dead. Sure. Yeah, and you don't have a lobster dog that's also doing it for fun. That you're like, oh man, I want to do it so bad. I want to take that from my lobster dog.
It's like, that was actually his dinner, sir. You just robbed him.
The axe sound.
Also, I forgot, like, the entire time you were doing that intro and talking about Kaladin, all I could think was like, oh, good, we know why he's sad. Super.
Well, and yeah, when you were like, he gave Gary what was coming to him or whatever, I was like, oh man, Cal and Gary becoming best friends already, buddies forever.
I think Jaymee called that.
Somebody called that they would be friends. I don't think that's happened yet, but
there seems to be less of a I'm trying to get you killed at the moment. Mm-hmm. Or Gary could turn around and just be even worse, and just like after that threat, he's just double down on it.
Yeah, I don't know how he will take that. He seemed intimidated in the moment, but when he remembers that he's the one in charge, maybe it won't be the same.
Now I'm the one in charge.
Dude hangs out in lightning storms.
Well, yeah, got to make sure you get your spheres.
It's true.
Which is a whole other thing. We'll get into the sphere thing, but it's an interesting little bit of world building too. Okay, let's move into these chapters. So our next chapter is Damnation. 10 people with shard blades alight, standing before a wall of black and white and red. One of our own Ardents overheard during his last moments. Our own Ardens. What's that about?
Yeah, sounds like these are maybe quotes captured by priests. I don't know.
Attending to the dying or something? Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that makes sense.
So this chapter is, by and large, Kaladin sitting still and not talking and like just staring. And he's like sitting out in the rain. It's not a high storm, just some regular old rain. And there's another guy like laying, staring at the sky, eyes unblinking as the rain comes down. And I'm just like, that's a disturbing picture, honestly. And we find out like of the people on the bridge crew when he started, like he's not even sure how long ago, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. Of the 25 men who survived the first run that he made, 23 were now dead. 2 had been moved to other crews, but they died over there instead. Only 1 other man in Kaladin remained. So that's a hell of a turnover rate in like 3 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, well, people die on bridge crews.
And it's like, and so, they replenished their numbers, and most of those guys had died. And then they replenished them again, and a lot of those guys were dead too. But we find out that not all the runs are as bad as what we saw. If the Alethi get there first, then nobody dies. Well, no bridgemen anyway, because there's no parshmen to shoot at them. And sometimes Sadeas's army shows up, and there's another Alethi army already fighting, and then Sadeas just turns around and goes home. And so he's like, what? None of this really makes any sense. Like, what is going on out here? They don't seem to care about, like, pushing and fighting the Parshendi and getting revenge for the king. They go out, they do a fight, they come back and party. And in between bridge runs, just so they don't get too bored, the bridgemen get other random work, like scrubbing latrines, cleaning streets, mucking out stables, gathering rocks.
Yeah, it really seems like these people are just fighting for the sake of fighting. Like, they're not, like, actually interested in, like, it's almost like it's it's almost like it's just, we do it because we're supposed to. Like, it's an unending battle quarrel, and we just continue it.
Kaladin compares it to a game, so that's kind of similar to what you're going for, where it's just like nobody's trying to take it that seriously. And the one clue he's been able to get is what's going on has something to do with those large chrysalises on the plateaus. They had gemstones at their hearts, apparently, but what that had to do with anything, he doesn't know. And why aren't the bridgemen allowed to have, like, shields? He asked, like, why can't you put, like, a few bridgemen at the front with shields to block the arrows from killing everybody else? And they're like, yeah, it would slow you down. And then he asked again, and they're like, you'll be strung up if you don't shut your mouth. So, okay, then.
Yeah, I'll admit the entire, like, early bridge crew chapter, I spent the whole thing going, it's like, they couldn't put blockers up? It seems like you want to keep these people alive, even if you don't care about them that much. They're kind of necessary.
Right? That's what he thinks, too. But somebody somewhere seems to disagree for some reason, and they're not giving him much information. And Syl is just like, Kaladin, you haven't spoken in days. And he thinks that there's only, like, there's no escape. There's only one way out, like the chasm that's nearby. Technically, we're not supposed to go there, but the sentries ignore that. It's the one mercy they give to bridgemen. You can go out there and jump and kill yourself and get free. And then Kaladin says that his dad said there were 2 kinds of people in the world. Those who take lives and those who save lives. And he used to think Dad was wrong, that there was a third kind, people who kill to protect. Now he's decided that while that's not right, there is a third group. They're the people who just exist to be killed or protected or saved, whatever. The victims, and that's all I am. So, yeah, he's not in a great place psychologically. Syl is sitting here like, you used to be vibrant. Everybody looked up to you. And she even says, I used to watch you fight. And he's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. She didn't start following me until, like, after I was a slave. What is she talking about? She saw me in the army. There's lots of ways that bridgemen can be punished. Extra work, have your pay docked. If you do something really bad, they string you up for the Stormfather's judgment by leaving you tied to a post or a wall to face a high storm.
Nice. That seems, reasonable.
The Stormfather will decide your fate, whatever that is. But the only way to get executed as a bridgeman is to refuse to run towards the battle. The message is clear. Charging with your bridge might get you killed, but refusing will get you killed. They behead you if you do that. That's a special punishment they save specifically for that infraction. Now we see them get some more men, but nobody really cares. Nobody cares about anything really. Bridge 4, it's not a fun place to be. He sees a young guy who reminds him of Tien. He's like, no. And then Syl says that she's leaving. He's like, what? No. She says, I'll try to come back, but I don't know what will happen when I leave you. I have odd memories. Most aren't even memories, but one of them tells me that if I leave you, I might lose myself. But I can't watch you like this anymore. I'll try to come back. Yeah, right? Like, what does that mean? And so, yeah, she takes off. The youth that reminded him of Tien died the very next bridge run. And so did the one other guy who'd survived that initial bridge run way back when. So Kaladin is the most experienced bridgeman on Bridge 4, at least, at this point.
So if, like me, you thought that character was going to be important, you were wrong.
Yeah, screw you. We don't even get a name. He's just dead.
Yeah. He's just guy who looks like other guy.
And then they're in their bunker during a high storm, and he starts crying, and that's the end of that chapter. So that's nice. He's in a very, very bad place. And then chapter 10 is Stories of Surgeons, where we flash back to 9 years ago. So Kaladin is 10 years old at this point. And he comes into the surgery room where his dad is setting up. He's apparently late. And his dad's like, we'll discuss your tardiness later. And there's a young woman on the table. She's already been drugged. And her, what was it called? Her free hand is severely damaged. And so Kaladin's dad, rather, is a surgeon. His name is Lirin. And Kaladin, 10-year-old Kaladin, is his surgery assistant, which is a hell of a thing to have to be when you are 10 years old. But, what can you do? And so this young woman has a mangled hand, I guess right hand. I was trying to remember which one is the free hand and which one's the safe hand. Like 3 of the fingers are badly damaged. One of them so badly damaged that Kaladin is like, we're going to have to cut that one off, aren't we?
Left hand was like the covered hand.
Yeah, I think that's the safe hand because we discussed if you're left-handed, you're screwed, basically.
Yeah.
So free hand would be
I assume it has to do something with, like, being married or whatever, because, like, it sounds like only maidens have their hand covered. I may be wrong about that, but that's what it sounded like to me.
That makes sense. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Did Kaladin mention his mom wearing a glove or something? I feel like, I don't know. I might be imagining that. It might come up in a Shallan chapter, somebody wearing a glove. Anyway. They have the town's only fabrial clock because most people don't care about hours and minutes, but for the surgeon, it's apparently important. So it is a clock with a single dial and a glowing smoke stone at its heart. It had to be infused to keep the time. And we learn, I think in the next chapter, kind of what infused means. We've heard about that a little bit before, but I don't think that we had an idea of exactly what it entailed. And Kaladin has to wash his hands. He's like, why do you have to wash your hands? That's so dumb. Wisdom of the Heralds. Deathspren and Rotspren hate water. It will keep them away. Well, Hammy says that's silly. He says Deathspren are mighty good at killing folks, so why should they be afraid of a little water? The Heralds were wise beyond our understanding. But they're demons, Father. I heard it from Off the Ardent, who came teaching last spring. He's like, no, that's the Radiance. You're mixing them up again. The Heralds were sent to teach mankind. They led us against the Voidbringers after we were cast from heaven. The Radiance were the orders of knights they founded. Oh, and they were demons. No. They betrayed us once the Heralds left. They were just men with too much power and not enough sense. Either way, you have to wash your hands.
This is all interesting. I want to know more about this.
Right?
Well, I don't know. Based on the context, it sounds like maybe the Radiants are the guys at the beginning of the book from the prologue. Like, because he said they betrayed us, they abandoned us, or whatever.
Because those are the Heralds. He said once the Heralds left, they left the Radiants in charge. Because I think when those two guys were talking, they said they were going to leave the Radiance. Like, they don't need us. They've got the Radiance.
But just like Kaladin is confused, I think there's some confusion about who's who in their actual history.
Well, you guys did think the names that we were given for the Heralds were pretty close to the names of those two guys we saw.
Yeah,
that's kind of where that came from.
That's the assumptions I run off. But yeah,
which what you're saying makes complete sense. But like at the same time, I wonder if like they're even confused about it.
Maybe
like
after
they've
4,500
named
years.
these, right? They've named these people these things, and they weren't actually those things.
Yeah, that's fair.
So things to keep track of. We have Heralds and we have Radiants and we have Voidbringers.
Well, in keeping with Joe said he looked at the next page of the next part and saw the names. I did what I've done before and read the back of the book.
Yes, I was actually wanted to discuss the back of the book today. Somebody brought it up in an email. So
okay. Well, I'll wait till we get there.
Yeah, keep that thought, and we will get there after we do the chapters. Because
I have not looked at the back of the book because I don't have a back of a book.
I'll say I've looked at the back of part 1 of the book. So All the Stormlight
Yeah.
books, the editions we have are split in half. So I've read the back of half one.
I wonder.
I have not read the back of half two because presumably that might have spoilers for half one.
When we get to the discussion, I may just pull up the back of the book and read it, and then that way everyone's on the same page because it's not like it's super long. But yes, sorry. But you can see the effect that washing your hands have on rot spren, even if death spren cannot be seen. And later it says that like Lister oil scares away rot spren even more. So just imagine if like in our history you could tell if like an injury was gonna get infected or whatever by you see these little things showing up, these little spren, and then you can tell if something will prevent that because if you use it, you see the spren go away. That would be so much easier than like the just testing out stuff and seeing, if the person dies or not.
That sounds incredibly useful. I was thinking a lot about spren this section and like, all right, what shard is responsible for this stuff? So I'm like, I wonder if there was a shard for abstraction.
It's just like the artsy fartsy shard. Yeah.
Yeah. Just making weird shit that explains why you've got all the bizarre stuff going on in this world that's so different to the others.
Yeah, maybe. I'd buy it because there's just some really weird. Yeah, well, everything is different.
Sure.
You got crab dogs and crab cows or horses or whatever, and
just like it was like you've got this one shard that was really into crabs as a kid.
Really into crustaceans in general because of the chull.
Yep. And then, shows up to shard reunions every so often. They're just like, hey, abstraction, how's the crabs?
He's like, they itch. Thanks for asking.
They discovered from There's Always Another Podcast this week that there's a term called carcinization, which is it's used for the convergent evolution that you see where on Earth, at least, crabs, like evolution keeps producing crabs. There's like at least 5 different sorts of quote unquote crabs that evolved independently of each other to have similar body structures. So apparently evolution has decided that crab is a really efficient body form.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. I had not heard of that. And then I went and read a bunch about it and I was like, wow, okay.
You should see videos of like crabs that start swimming. They look like a fucking helicopter taking off.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah.
So yes, they treat this young woman. Her name is Sani. They treat her hand. Kaladin can't use the knives, of course. Like it'll be years of training before he's good enough for that. But he does stuff like holding sinew and stuff while his dad sews things together. Which I'm just like, geez. When I was 10, I would not have been able to handle this. And they have to get rid of the third finger. It is too badly damaged. And Kaladin thinks like that they did the most that could be done here. They saved 4 of her fingers, but her parents aren't going to see it that way. They're going to be upset that their beautiful daughter now has a disfigured hand. That's the way it always happens. Terror at the initial wound and then anger at Lyran's inability to work wonders. But they'd make a small donation because they were good people, and Cal's family, his parents, him, and his younger brother Tien would continue to be able to eat. So hey, we at least know who Tien is now, other than Dragon Ball guy.
Yeah, not Tien Shinhan.
Could be Tien Shinhan, I suppose, but we don't know if he has family.
Doubtful.
I was gonna say, do we know Kaladin's last name yet?
No. I don't think we've heard any
does he have one?
Maybe not.
They just call him Kaladin. What's the title that he had in the army?
Stormblessed.
Stormblessed.
Oh yeah, I guess like we know like Jasna or Yasna Colin, like her family at least we've heard a last name, and Shalon we've heard a last name for.
Yeah.
So people have last names. Okay.
Might be a nobility thing because Kaladin's Dark Eyes, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he is. That's true. Good point. Yeah, maybe those are like house names, and so if you're in a noble house, you get the last name.
If you're a Dark Eyes, you're just like a Snow or a Summer or whatever.
Could be. And his dad tells him, you still need to work on those nerves of yours. It's good to care, but caring like anything else can be a problem if it interferes with your ability to perform surgery.
Or your agility.
It's like performing surgery, most important thing in the world.
Well, if you want your son to be a surgeon, yeah, I would guess that it would be.
And he's like, where were you? Why were you late? And Kaladin was like, yeah, me and Tien were watching this older boy. His dad started training him in the quarterstaff. Jam's father was a soldier in Bright Lord Amaram's army. Hey, we've heard of Amaram in his army before.
Yeah, fuck that guy. He sold Kaladin into slavery.
Yep. And Lyran's like, yeah, I know all about Jam's father. I've had to operate on that lame leg of his 3 times now, a gift of his glorious time as a soldier. And I like Cal's like, hey, we need soldiers, Dad. Do you want our borders violated by the Thalans? He's like, Thalana is an island kingdom. They don't actually share a border with us.
It's like, you're 10. Shut up.
Stop hating on New Zealand.
They could attack from the sea. His dad's like, look, everyone I've met has tried to swindle me, but that's not really the same thing as invading. They're mostly tradesmen and merchants. And Kaladin's like, oh, damn it. I keep forgetting that my dad actually knows what he's talking about instead of like us kids in the village and like making stuff up, basically. And Kaladin, he's just like, so being a soldier is important. Also, that's how you get stories told about you. Who tells stories about surgeons for the herald's sake? And Lyran's like, well, the children of the men and women whose lives we saved. That's who tells stories about surgeons. And Kaladin's like, okay, sorry. And I like, he says this thing where there's two kinds of people. And Kaladin's like, but what about the people who protect and defend, who save lives by taking lives? And I love his response. Like, that's like trying to stop a storm by blowing harder. Ridiculous. You can't protect by killing. I don't know that I agree with him, but I like that metaphor, or it's a simile, I guess. And his dad quizzes him on some medical stuff and goes like, you've learned in months what it took me years to learn. Like, you could be an amazing surgeon. I want to save money, and when you're 16, I want to send you to Carbranth to train with the real surgeons. Don't dream the small dreams of other men. Our grandfathers worked and brought us to the second non so that we could have full citizenship and the right of travel. So I guess not all dark eyes can travel. It's a very feudal sort of system here.
Yeah.
Don't waste that on killing. And Cal hesitates, but then he's like, yeah, no, you're right. So something in the intervening 9 years happens to change his mind back to being a soldier, since that is where we meet Kaladin in the army. The last actual chapter we have is called Droplets. And if you look at the face on the arch on this one, the guy's like wearing a crown or has spiky hair, or I don't know what he's doing, but he's got something interesting going on. The epigraph is 3 of 16 ruled, but now the broken one reigns. A cut pursed with the wasting sickness is who said this one. So that's potentially interesting for us. So we cut back to Kaladin. It's the same evening after the high storm, after Syl has left, and they get one blanket. So you can either use it to lay on or you can use it to cover yourself. You cannot do both. It's just worse and worse being a bridgeman, I have to say.
That just seems unnecessary.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, like, this might be the lowest of the low, but you still need these people.
Yeah. Why are you going to make them catch their death of cold if they're not going to run bridges while they're that sick?
Yeah.
So we're at the tail end of the high storm. He goes out about as early as it's safe to go out, he says, an hour or so before the riddens, the end of the storm. And so he goes out and sees that Gaz is already out there. I like that he hated having a beard, particularly the way the whiskers itched at the corners of his mouth. Beards were like axehound pups. Boys dreamed the day they'd get one, never realizing how annoying they could be.
This sounds like Brandon doesn't like facial hair, is what it sounds like.
He's grown a beard before, but maybe not.
It doesn't mean he likes the way it feels.
It's true. I
did that for research.
So he would know to write this. I do like the comparison to axehound pups, given that we learn more about axehounds in the next little bit. And so, Gaz is out here huddled in a hollow between two of the barracks. He'd fastened a small basket on the leeward wall of one of the barracks, and a glowing light came from within. So he left his spheres out in the storm and came out early to retrieve them. So leaving your spheres out was a risk, because even a sheltered basket could be torn free, and some people believed that the shades of the lost radiance haunted the storm, stealing spheres. And Calvin's like, maybe that's true, but during my time in the army, I knew more than one guy who got wounded sneaking out during the middle of the storm to try to steal spheres. So probably that's what's going on.
Seems a lot more likely.
But the thing was, this is how you infuse spheres. You have to leave the spheres, the money, out in the storm, and they get infused with stormlight, and that's how they glow. If you don't leave them out, they stop glowing. And we heard before that a done sphere is often, looked at suspiciously. Sometimes you got to bring someone in to make sure it's real, that you're not trying to pass a counterfeit.
I've been playing a lot of Spiritfarer lately, and this just reminded me of that mini game you can play where you have to get lightning in a bottle and it gives you the orb money.
I don't think I've played that.
Good game. I got it for $5.
What's it called?
Spiritfarer.
Oh yeah, never heard that one.
Came out in 2020, I think.
I've been playing a lot of Age of Empires because it's on Game Pass. Age of Empires 2 specifically.
Nice.
Look up Spiritfarer.
I'll say this is Spiritfarer. It made me cry like a motherfucker.
It's very pretty looking. We'll give it that.
Yeah.
I do like when I search for Spiritfarer and I go to images. The first many images are not of that game, but they are in fact of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Because there's a Yu-Gi-Oh card called Spirit of the Pharaoh, and also one called Pharaoh Spirit. So
Yeah, not Pharaoh. Pharaoh.
yeah, that's I think I misheard you and I typed it wrong, because there is Spiritfarer that is one of the first results that comes up. But yeah.
Okay. Like, autocorrect's like, the fuck? Do you mean this?
Oh gosh. I've been playing Star Trek Infinite lately because it's that came out recently, and it's very much like Civilization, but Star Trek.
I think you meant Age of Empires.
No, it's not. It's not that much like Age of Empires. It is like Civilization. It's that sort of game.
I think you meant Age of Empires.
You said Age of Empires, but that's not
You
what
said
I meant.
Civilization is his point.
No, I know. I wanted him to say Age of Empires.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. It's not like Age of Empires. That's why
But it could be.
I kind of wish it was a little more, because one thing good about Age of Empires is the battling is always good, and the battling is not great in this game. But anyways, so Gaz is like, "Why are you out here? I'll have you strung up if you've stolen anyone's spheres." Because obviously, if he's so paranoid about his spheres that he's out here before it's really even safe in the storm to make sure they're okay, then he probably is going to suspect that that's what Kaladin's after. And Kaladin just ignores him. And he's like, "I'll have you strung up. Don't think you can run away. I'm going to the honor chasm." And Gaz is like, "Oh, okay." And then he goes, "Lordling," and Kaladin turns, and you have a moment where you're like, oh, maybe he'll say something like, halfway decent to the guy about to kill himself. What he says is, "Leave the sandals and vest. I don't want to have to send someone down there to fetch him." Because fucking Gary, man.
Fucking Gary. Is his last name Oak?
Gary Oak.
Gare Bear.
Like when he lost the Pokemon League, he fell on hard times and had to take a job running a bridge crew.
With only one eye. Yeah, no, that's hard times. Many bridgemen had trouble making decisions. The same happened to men who were shocked by battle. Kaladin had felt those effects himself, but apparently deciding to do this finally, it actually makes him feel better. He's made a decision. It's finally over. We do have him saying these chasms are not natural, which Jaymee theorized that maybe they'd been soul cast or something, but he's like, there's no way that this is natural. This one starts narrow, but as it runs east, it grows wider and deeper really quickly.
I just got Cortana in my head going, this cave is not a natural formation.
And there's rope ladders here because sometimes they send bridgemen down there to salvage from the corpses that have fallen into the chasms during bridge runs. So that's delightful. And so he sits out here for a bit, just thinking about all of this, everything that's happened. He even thinks about, like, he sees the plants lapping up the rainwater. And he's like, yes, storm wardens in Kolinar and Vedinar have proven that plants given stormwater did better than those given lake or river water. Why was it that scientists were always so excited to discover facts that farmers had known for generations? It's funny because it's true. That does happen.
Science! Yeah, that happens.
You were right, Father. You can't stop a storm by blowing harder. You can't save men by killing others. We should all become surgeons.
Yeah.
And it says that once his life had been simple, before he lost his brother, before he'd been betrayed in Amaram's army. So he was betrayed. That may be more information than we had before. I don't know.
What did Sen do?
It was that kid, that Sen. And he's about to jump or step off the edge when all of a sudden something calls out his name. And here comes Syl back through the rain. And she has brought him a leaf, a blackbane leaf. He's like, what is this? She's like, damn, these things are heavy. I brought it for you. And he's like, why did you bring this to me? And he says it harshly. And she's like, oh, I mean, I thought you kept those other leaves so carefully, and then you lost them when you tried to help that man in the slave cages. I thought it would make you happy to have another one. It's just, it's kind of adorable that she's just like, you were happier when you had these, so I brought them for you. The things that you were saving to potentially kill yourself. She just doesn't know that part of it. And then she's like, oh man, you don't like them? I flew so far, I almost forgot myself, but I came back. And so he says, he's like, why do you care? And she's like, well, I do. I remember back in the army, you always would find those young, untrained men and protect them. I remember their gratitude. It's what drew me in the first place. You helped them. And he's just like, no, everything I touch withers and dies. Like I'm a curse. Everyone is better off without me. And she's like, well, you could help the men in the bridge crew. And he's like, no, it's too late. They're dead. We're all dead. There's no way out. And she's like,
we're screwed, man. We're screwed.
Game over. She's just like, well, then, if you're all already dead, then it can't hurt to try, can it? Like, you can't fail them again because they're already screwed. Like, the worst that you can fail them is they will be back where they are currently. So why not give it a shot? One more try, please. And that finally does it. He's like, she's right. It can't get worse. We've said that about his life before. It can't get worse. But he's like, it can't get worse than where we are now. So why not? One more try. He goes back, and Gaz is still the only one hanging out. So he walks up to Gaz, and Gaz is like, oh, you're too much of a coward, huh? Well, don't think I'm giving back. I assume he was going to mention the vest and the shoes. He's like, you're going to have to go without them again. But Kaladin's not here for it anymore. He just grabs him by the neck and sweeps his legs out from under him and slams him into the ground. And he's like, the world just changed. I died down at that chasm, and now you've got my vengeful spirit to deal with. And Gaz is looking for help, but there's no help because no one is crazy enough to be out in the storm this early. We're going to start over, you and I. And I want you to understand something. I'm already dead. You can't hurt me, understand? And so Kaladin declares that he is going to be the bridge leader. Their last bridge leader just died anyway, so there's an opening. And he's the most experienced one left. So, and Gaz nods, and he's like, good, you learn quickly. Like, Kaladin is all of a sudden intimidating as hell. And so he tells Gaz that he's going to start taking his pay. He wants it paid out to him instead of paid towards his slave debt. But Gaz gets to keep 20%. 1 in every 5 marks Gaz can keep for your efforts. Your efforts in staying the damnation out of my way, understand? And Gaz is like, yeah, okay, I got it, man. And so he leaves him out there, and he's like, that's not much money, but anyone willing to risk going out in the middle of a high storm to protect his spheres cares a lot about the money, so maybe it'll be enough. And so Kaladin goes in to the barracks, and he goes up to the first guy, and he's like, hey, what's your name? The guy's like, screw you. He says storm off, technically.
Yeah. Smoke you. That's what I heard.
One of my favorite movie moments ever.
That's from The Fifth Element there, Dac.
Okay. Oh.
Smoke you. With the hand motion.
Yeah. And then Bruce Willis is just like,
bad move.
Bad move.
Was that a Chris Tucker line?
No, that was
like
a random
the freaky
extra
guy who lives next door to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Extra guy.
I don't remember that bit. I think I repressed a lot of that movie because of Chris Tucker.
I think it's the same guy who tries to rob him earlier.
Yeah, you were correct.
So I don't know if since he gets 2 scenes with lots of dialogue, I don't know that I could call him random extra. But
well, I'm sure they gave him those extra scenes because if you've got dialogue, you're in SAG anyway. So they probably were already paying him for a day's work, so he probably did all his stuff in one day.
But it really is maybe my favorite movie and my favorite moment in that movie. It's just so hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And so Kaladin's just like, look, either you can just tell me your name and I'll go away, or I can keep bugging you. And eventually I'll pull you out into the storm and hang you over the chasm by one leg until you tell me. And the guy says, Teft. My name is Teft. He's like, yeah, that wasn't so hard. I'm Kaladin, your bridge leader. And then he moves on to the next guy.
Teft, the old dog.
Okay.
Simpsons thing. Like, she never forgave him after that talk with President Taft. Taft, the old dog.
Oh, okay. Taft. I was not thinking Taft when you.
I don't know anything about President Taft other than his name.
He was really large. He got stuck in a bathtub.
Oh, that was that guy.
Yeah, he's also one of the only presidents that became a congressman or a senator after he was president.
Was it? I thought Taft wasn't it the Supreme Court? Hold on.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe he became a Supreme Court justice. I just know he's one of the few ones that stayed active in politics and political service after he was president.
Most of them don't. He became the 10th Chief Justice of the Supreme Court.
There you go.
The main thing I remember about him is that I read I did reports on Theodore Roosevelt, and Taft was the guy handpicked by Roosevelt to continue his kind of legacy.
Mm-hmm. And
then Roosevelt was horribly disappointed with the way that Taft took things, and that's why he goes and tries to run for president again.
In the Bull Moose Party.
Yep, and then he splits the vote between him and Taft, and that's how Woodrow Wilson got in.
Yep.
Anyway, there's our American history moment.
Yeah, I was about to say there's some American history for you, folks.
Hope you enjoyed.
Yeah. Most American people don't even know the name of a president older than themselves. So.
I mean, most people don't have a president who's younger than themselves. You can't be president until you're like 35.
I meant like who served before they were born.
Oh, okay.
Like they don't know the names of any presidents that weren't serving as president while they were alive.
I don't know. Like, even without the Simpsons education that I got, like, I still knew about Lincoln.
Sure. Who doesn't know Lincoln or Washington? And there's a great Jonathan Coulton song out there that will help you learn all the presidents if you want. Well, all of them up to W, I think, was the last one in the song.
I always ask, who's I always ask like
who's
people.
On first?
No, I always ask people like, everybody knows who the first president is. Do you know who the second one is? And most people do not.
Oh, that's sad.
Yep.
It's John Adams. Spoiler.
Yep. And then the third president's
Jefferson.
Jefferson.
No, he's the third president.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, and then Adams again.
Adams again. It's the son of Adams.
Yep. John Quincy Adams.
Yeah.
Another one of my favorite Simpsons lines is when Grandpa's talking about getting spanked by presidents, and he says, "Grover Cleveland spanked me on 2 non-consecutive occasions."
Yeah. Classic joke.
That is a good joke.
Oh my god.
This has been the President segment, brought to you by the Sanderlanche podcast.
That was the day I learned that Grover is actually a real name and not something they made up for the Sesame Street guy.
Right?
Apparently, once upon a time, it was a fairly popular name, and I think Sesame Street may have contributed to the downfall of that name. Same with Kermit. Teddy Roosevelt had a kid named Kermit. Yeah. Anyway,
Kermit the Frog.
Should we just start a podcast about presidents? Is that where we're going? Because
I can guarantee you, I would be less than helpful for that podcast.
Well, no, like that. In that case, you would be the newbie, and Data and I would be taking you through the presidents.
Dac would be so miserable.
It would be a short-lived podcast. We'd only have 40-something episodes because we'd do a president in each one.
Who do I know that's Elmo? Elmo's the name of Sam Jackson's character from the movie. Well, depending on where you saw the movie, it was the 51st state in like Europe, I think, and it was Formula 51 in the U.S.
Oh yeah, Formula 51. Yeah, the dog's bollocks.
It's like, wait, so bollocks is bad, but the dog's bollocks is good. Yeah, now you get it.
Yeah, I like that guy. He's Mr. Gold.
He's Mr.
And
Gold.
also, he was in Train Spotting.
Oh my gosh, we've gone so far from.
What are we talking about this week?
Yeah, what were we doing?
What are we doing? Who am I? Where are you people? What?
I told you, Jaymee-less episode. This is what it leads to.
We have no anchor. So I do like Kaladin's bit of the conversation where he's like, "Rest up, we're gonna have a hard day tomorrow." He's like, "Well, how do you know?" "Because we're bridgemen. Every day is hard." And he's like, "Yeah, Kellek knows that's true."
That's like, it's such a good joke, but also a bad joke. It's like
because it's true. Yeah,
right. But it's like it's such a cool character moment because it's like what that guy needed to hear. Like it brought some levity to his life.
And so Kaladin feels better now because he's taken on some responsibility. He has a purpose. He's going to find a way to protect these men. And that's the end of part 1. And then we go
these men alive if it kills me, which it probably will because we're bridgemen.
Yeah, exactly. It'll kill a lot of us probably, to be fair. The interludes. We have 3 interludes. First is Ishik. And Ishik, I love Ishik. He's just a relaxed dude.
He seems like a good bloke.
He lives on the Pure Lake, which you can find on the map if you care to look. It is a very large body of water.
I'm ashamed how long it took me to find it there.
I know, because it's so huge in the middle of the map, right? But you're like, oh, that can't be the Pure Lake.
And honestly, his train of thought and the fact that he kept saying Pure Lake. There's an episode of The Office where Jim Carrey has a very like bit part where he's playing a guy applying for the position of manager, but he's like on vacation in the Finger Lakes with his family, and he keeps talking about how he's got to get back there because his family doesn't know that he like left for this interview. He's like, I should get back. They'll be worried about me. But he kept saying Finger Lakes over and over, and this guy kept saying Pure Lake over and over in his head. It just made me giggle.
The Pure Lake is an interesting body of water to me because it is so enormously huge. It's like as big as some of the countries on this map. But for the most part, it like doesn't even come up to your knees as you're walking through it. It's just like an enormous, shallow, like almost ocean.
Yeah,
Sounds great. You can go swimming at the beach and there's no sharks.
Yeah, almost to the point of like the way this guy talks about it, and I guess their culture is like it's its own like country almost. It's like people live in the Pure Lake. They live a very particular way in the Pure Lake, at least from this guy's perspective. It's like, this is how we do things here. These people don't even, he's like laughing at them because they don't want to get wet. It's like, nah, you gotta get wet.
You're in a village
it's
in
not
the
healthy.
middle of a fucking lake. You go and get wet.
Yeah. It's like you want to get wet. That's the charm of the Pure Lake.
Also, they wear shirts, and he's like, you get sick not like getting enough sunlight on your skin. Why are you gonna wear a shirt?
Yeah, what are you doing that for?
And so Ishik is a fisherman on the Pure Lake, and he goes around trying to get fish in his buckets.
Does he just fucking Miyagi the fish, like just catch him with his hand, or did I imagine that?
I don't think it tells us how he catches the fish. It doesn't say he's carrying like poles or anything, so I don't know.
Yeah. If it's that shallow, he probably has a bucket.
Well, he has several
He has the
buckets
fish in a bucket.
Yeah, he keeps the fish in his buckets. So I was like, well, you can't use the buckets to fish and then also keep the fish in there, or they'd get out when you try to catch another one. So I don't know.
Yeah, bucket. Yeah, I mean, it's shallow water. Does it not say at the beginning that he has a pole? Like at the very beginning?
Hold on. Oh, yep, nope. It says his pole with the buckets on each end. So yeah, I guess he uses a fishing pole.
So he has a pole with a bucket. So like, does he use the pole and the bucket to fish it out? Because it sounds like it's almost like a yoke thing.
I just pictured it that like when he's not using the pole to fish, he's got the buckets hanging off it because it's easier that way. But maybe you're right. I don't know. He lives by being a fisherman. He's caught 5 fish today.
He's a mysterious guy, this Ishik. He's an enigma.
It's funny because he's like the absolute opposite of an enigma. He is exactly what you see.
That's the joke.
But he's coming up to a town where he's going to meet up with some foreigners. And like he passes another guy who's on a raft and they know each other. He's like, hey, how's it going? How's fishing? The guy says, and he's terrible. Vun Macaque has blighted me right good today. And you? Lost a shirt while washing. That's the way of things.
I came in and just watched it. He's like, fuck.
in the shallow water. Yeah,
right.
It's like,
there can't be like a really fast current, so he's just like, it just falls in the water and starts to go away slowly, and he's like, nah, it's gone.
I can't be bothered.
Maybe the fish got it.
Maybe.
Just snatched it
that's
away.
it.
Yeah.
He's like,
he's like, my wife made that shirt. I don't really like it anyway.
Yes, I lost it, air quotes.
I lost it.
I don't know how it struck you guys before the actual explanation, but like in his internal monologue, he's always talking about New Ralik, but when he talks out loud, he's talking about Vun Macaque. And so it was bizarre to me until the explanation, and then it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like I didn't know what was going on, so I was just like, this guy's got a weird way of speaking. I almost honestly thought that it was like a turn of phrase he kept saying that I was just unfamiliar with.
Yeah.
But then when it's explained, it made more sense. Although by made more sense, I mean that he explained it in his own way, but it still didn't make any sense.
Well, religious beliefs can be like that.
Sure, I guess.
There is one interesting note that is really intriguing to me, is that the Pure Lake somehow knows when a high storm is coming and drains away so that he can just find a place to shove his raft in and protect himself from the high storms without having to be inside. So
that is incredibly weird. Like this whole thing just dries up.
Yeah. Just another for me, it's just like another instance of like the world, the whole world is like alive. It's just
that's
a weird thing. And it's like, I know I'm jumping ahead, but it's like in the next one when her brother is thinking about how the grass they planted is specifically more timid. And I'm like, wait, so there's like varying degrees of personality among grass and you choose the one that suits your needs? Like, that's weird.
It's gonna be a professional grass breeder.
Yeah.
So he's going to the home of someone named Mabe, who's her house is basically the closest thing this place has to an inn. So that's where his foreigners are waiting for him. And she's fixing up some soup, and we find out she's been trying to bait him to wed her for years on account of her fine cooking. Maybe someday he'll let her catch him. So the foreigners are sitting at the one special table in the place that has footrests so you can get your feet up out of the water. And he's like, oh, geez, what's wrong with these people? And good fishing, she asks, and he says, terrible.
Shirts and they keep their feet dry. Fucking freaks.
Yeah, weirdos, right? And she says, your soup is free today, Ishik, to make up for Von Macaque's cursing. And so he's like, oh, now he owes her one. Enough bowls and he would be forced to wed her. So they have a very stringent policy on this owing people thing.
It's like, okay, that's 20 bowls. You got to marry me now. Oh, damn.
This is the weirdest punch card system ever.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Loyalty programs.
Yeah, literally, she hands him a card and it's got like a little punch out. It's like, and the card says, marry me.
That's number 10. Yeah.
Yeah.
He says that there's a coal grill in the bucket for you. Caught it early this morning. It's apparently a very, in italics, very lucky fish. Cured aching joints for a month after you ate it, and sometimes let you see when friends were going to visit by letting you read the shapes of the clouds.
Fuck this cloud reading. I want this makes your joints stop aching fish. Like,
Yeah.
Give me some of that.
And this one fish is enough for 2 weeks of soup for her, and that will put her in debt to him. And she says, Von Macaque, you. That is one all right. How am I ever going to catch you, man? He goes, I'm a fisher, babe. Hard to catch a fisher. You know that. This like weird flirting is just hilarious to me.
So
Yeah,
it's
that
like-
was probably my favorite line of the whole interlude. It's like, I'm a fisher, hard to catch, you know.
Like, so what's the deal here? So, like, oh no, she's like, if I have too many bowls, I have to marry her. But if she has too many of my fish, she has to marry me.
Yeah, I don't know what
what's the
happens
difference
the
here?
other way around. Yeah.
Yeah, I would assume it's like he can just put her off longer without being impolite, because it seems like there's a certain amount of politeness to it. He's like, yeah, I mean, if she does me too many favors, I'm gonna have to marry her just to be polite. So I guess like if I do enough favors for her, then I can politely refuse to marry her.
Okay, so yes, we meet the strangers, the guys that I told you to pay attention to last time. So who do we got? We got 3 guys.
Yep.
2 of them dark-skinned.
Uh-huh.
He says they're Makabaki, though the strangest Makabaki he'd ever seen.
I don't know what makabaki means, but I assume it's racist.
And one of them is completely bald and kind of small, and the other one is taller with short dark hair, lean muscles, broad shoulders, and he calls them Grump and Blunt in his head. The third one is lighter skinned, although he says like an Alethi, so it's still tan, but he doesn't seem quite right either. The eyes are the wrong shape. And I didn't mention that when I was describing to you, like kind of what Alethi look like. They also have the specific eye shape that technically I think is called an epicanthic fold. And so like that's what Alethi generally look like. So that's why he's like, the eyes look not quite right here. Ishik calls the third guy Thinker. And he's like, I wonder how he got that scar on his scalp.
Who do we know that got cut on the head?
Do you wonder how I got these scars?
And so Blunt is just like, you're late. And Ishik's like, well, I mean, isn't it Warley Day? He's like, yeah, but we're supposed to meet at noon, understand? And he's like, I mean, it's close to that. Like, geez, who pays attention to the hour? Foreigners, man. And Mabe comes over and brings him, in addition to the soup that she's given him, here's a soft cloth napkin and a nice cup of sweet wine to try to balance that fish out as quickly as possible. And so these guys, as we find out, have been paying Ishik to look for Hoyd. We don't find out his name for a little while in the chapter, but that's what it is. They've had him, as he makes his rounds of various towns doing his fishing over the past month, he's been asking about this guy that they're looking for. And he's like, nobody has seen him. And Blunt is not, he's like, we've been paying you for 5 months and we have no results. And he's like, well, I don't know what you want me to tell you. You want to make stuff up? Von Macaque would like me to do that. And they're like, well, no, we just want the truth. And he's like, well, that's what I gave you. I gave you the truth. You swear it by New Ralik, that god of yours? He's like, what? Shut up. Are you stupid? And Grump's like, but he's your god, understand? Is his name holy, not to be spoken? And he's like, geez, foreigners are idiots. Yes, New Ralik was their god, but you had to pretend that his younger, spiteful brother Von Macaque was his god, or else he'd get mad.
It's like, what? So like, your god can't hear your thoughts, so you have to pretend to that the other god is your god. But won't that make the other god mad? I don't know.
Well, no, because apparently if you go into the holy grotto, there it's safe to like speak the truth.
Oh,
so New
gotcha.
Ralik knows.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I swear by Von Macaque, may he watch over me and curse me as he pleases. No foreigner like this one you mentioned with white hair, clever tongue, and an arrow-like face has been seen. It's like, he dyes his hair sometimes. He wears disguises. And he's like, no. I mean, I've asked about with the names that you gave me. Maybe I could find you a fish that could locate him. But a stumpy court could do it. Might take me a while. And Blunt is like, I mean, hey, there might be something to these fish. And Grump says, superstition. You always look for superstition, Vow. And Ishik says that Vow is not that guy's real name. He's pretty sure they all use fake names. That's why he makes up names, because if they're going to make fake names, he'll make fake names too.
Sure.
And Blunt says, and you, Temu, we can't pontificate our way to... And Thinker's like, guys, hold on. And then they start talking in a different language, so he can't understand what they're saying. And we also get that as he goes to lots of places fishing, so he has been searching as he does his thing. One of the reasons he doesn't want to settle down is because if you want to catch the real good fish, you got to move around. And this is where he's like, I don't even know why they're looking for this Hoyd guy, whoever he is. Foreigners are always looking for things they can't have. Eventually, they finish their discussion. They give him some more money, some more instructions, and then they start to leave. And Grump is the last one out, and he is like, where are you, roamer? What a fool's quest this is. And then adds in his own tongue, Alavanta Kamalu Kayana. And that's the end of the chapter. So here we go. Well, let's pause. Who are these three guys? You have seen all three of them before, or each of them before, I should say.
So I'm pretty sure I know one of them. The other one, I'm guessing based on something Data told us a long time ago. But the one I'm pretty sure of is, I'm pretty sure the muscular, dark-skinned dude, just from his description, I think it might be Bayon from White Sand.
Okay.
And that's purely based on his description. Because I don't know that we've ever had a character that was described physically that way, other than Bayon. But I might be wrong. I don't know who, what's his name? Grump. I don't know who that is.
Okay.
I have no idea. But then my other guess, just based on something you told us a really long time ago when we were in the first era of Mistborn, is you said Daemu was one of the people that is in another book. And so I'm going to guess that the third guy, the thinker guy, is Daemu.
Okay. Interesting. Let's let Dac put his in before we...
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I was trying to identify... I'm basically running off the Lost Metal, because it's the only one I know where people have definitively traveled worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was wondering if Ishik was because this is before Era 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was wondering if Ishik might be not Ishik, sorry, Thinker. Thinker might be Crystal guy whose name escapes me.
Oh yeah. The I know you're talking about. I don't remember his name offhand either.
Yeah, the guy whose his book series hasn't been written, but yeah, and he made like that crystal golem to fight the bad guys. I agree that I think Blunt is Bayon, not just from description, but also just the manner of his talking, and the sort of things he says sound very, very much like Bayon. I also have no fucking idea on Grump.
Twin Soul was the guy's code
Twin
name.
Soul. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was his code name.
Oh, this is actually kind of... I had not seen... I think this is a bit of art that somebody must have done. I hadn't seen this picture of Twin Soul making glasses before. I'm going to share with you because it's kind of cool.
Ooh.
Okay, interesting.
I will say before I keep forgetting about White Sand. So before that, I keep thinking of, oh, okay, maybe not then.
And hold on, here's a picture of this bit too. This is some cool art.
Nice. Okay, maybe not then, because if that is him, he got very old between these two.
Yeah, he was described as a real old man in
Was
Lost
he?
Metal. Yeah. It's in the Skype chat, Joe. Sorry.
Yeah, she was. I can't see the Skype chat.
Yeah, she was like worried about bringing him along because he was so old. She thought he'd be hurt.
Oh, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, he was doddering.
All right, I'm probably hopelessly wrong then. I'd forgotten about that. Maybe I was so impressed by his abilities, I forgot that he was an old man. Okay, never mind. I will say, I forgot about White Sand completely, and I was trying to think: is Grump maybe Galadon from Elantris? But no, that doesn't seem to fit, I don't think. And Galadon was a decent bloke, was a decent sized bloke. He wasn't they say Blunt is the taller one, so Grump is the smaller one. So I'm like, oh, Galadon was fairly big. That can't be him. Like the bald head made me think of Elantris, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and Elantris is so hard for me to remember. Like, I didn't even remember. Did they get like their normal skin color back after everything got fixed?
No, I think they still look different.
They came back. They were still all bald, but they came back as the white glowy style. But I think they can turn that off when they need to.
Well, yeah. Well, because if you're on a different planet, Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
I feel like in the Lost Metal, when Shy becomes an Elantrian, she also like looks all different and glowy skin. But
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, here I will not make you guys.
Ooh, you're gonna
have no
reveal it?
idea. Yes, I will tell you. It's interesting to me because you guys both did not figure out what most people generally agree is the easiest one to pick out of the group.
Oh, okay.
Which is Grump.
Oh.
Grump, partially because Grump does most of the talking, but also because the way he talks is distinct. So one thing to think about is that I suspect these guys are using connection to speak the local language.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And so something that they might be saying in their language might come across, as like literally translated.
I think I got it. Yeah, Dac, I think your hunch was right. It is Galadon because he's like you see instead of like Colo.
Oh.
Yeah. Grump ends a whole lot of sentences with understand.
Yeah, understand. That's what it is. Understand.
But also, sorry, good.
Was I right?
Yes, because
my God.
The very last thing he says, when it says he says it in his own tongue, he says Alavanta Kamalu Kayana. The first two words I don't think we know. Kayana is another word that we heard Galadon say. It means crazy.
Oh, I don't remember that the slightest.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
He doesn't say it
Lantry's
nearly as often as Colo.
Kind of a blur.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
it was like years ago now.
That's cool that we kind of serendipitously picked Colo for our like sign off. Like we didn't know that he was necessarily going to come back in another book. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I wrote that off. I thought, it could be Galadon. No, surely not. And I think actually the thing that threw me off was the bit where he talks in his own language, because I was like, none of those sound like Aeons, but he comes from the different country that doesn't always use them. So.
Right. And the bald head thing is also contributory to making people go like, oh, like, so Galadon is the first one of these three that people picked out.
Okay, interesting.
And Brandon confirmed that, yes, that is Galadon.
Wow. Cool. The one I wrote off was the one I got right.
Second easiest, even though he does not talk much, he's got the slightly lighter skin and he's got the scar on his scalp, which we didn't see him get, but we saw at the beginning of Hero of Ages. We saw that he had an injury like sometime between the end of Well of Ascension and the beginning of Hero of Ages to his scalp.
Oh, was it? Whoa, was I right? Is it Daemon?
It was Daemon, yes.
Nice.
And so I honestly, you've mentioned before that I said Daemon was going to show up in another planet. I don't remember actually saying that, but I was like, okay, if you said that, I mean, how else would you know it if I hadn't said it? So I kind of figured that you guys might grab that one because apparently I spoiled it at some point.
It was honestly, like way early on, and I've held on to that in my brain for a really long time. I think it was after we finished the first book or something.
Remember that at all? Like, no, it would have had to have been after the third one because we were worried Daemon was going to die when he got mist sickness.
No, because it wasn't specific to. It wasn't like a conversation specifically about Daemon. It was a conversation about people we might see on other planets, and he said there's two. It was before we knew who Hoyd was, and he's like, "There's two people in this book that you're gonna that are in other in other books or on other planets in the Cosmere." And he confirmed at that time. Excuse me, sorry. He said Daemon was one of them.
See, like, not gonna lie, if you listed every character in the Cosmere and did them in order of ones I thought would be likely to show up in other books, Daemon would be close to the bottom. I would never have picked Daemon as a traveler.
Well, and I mean, given his like dedication to the Kelsier religion, it does seem weird to me that he'd be out here doing, whatever else he's doing.
Well, but knowing what we know about the Ghost Bloods.
I was about to say, yeah, exactly. He's probably palling around with Kelsier and the Ghost Bloods then.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's a fair thought.
Kelsier's like, hey, my most loyal dude, want to come and join my organization? Yeah. And Damon's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, dude who was literally around for the foundation of my religion and whom I once used my magic on so that you could fight a dude. You wanna come with me and save the planet? He's like, hell yeah.
I mean, Daemon also has the plus of being an Adium misting, which can be very powerful, although we don't have any Adium that we know.
I was gonna say, like, the Adium is all gone.
Yeah.
Hooray, my powers are useless now.
And so that was the second one that people picked out when this first came out. So we had the Brandon confirmed that yes, it's Daemon.
Oh.
The third one, I'll just go ahead and say Joe did get the third one right.
I think Dac was on it too. He
Yeah.
he
Yep.
agreed with me.
Yep.
Yeah, I said it's like that's Bayon.
So yes, it is Bayon. The interesting thing is that this book came out before White Sand was published. So people who had read like the version that he would hand out for free, they could maybe pick out Bayon, but anyone who was just reading his official published works couldn't guess who this was, because Bayon had not been in anything that was published at that point. One of the reasons I wanted to read White Sand before we got here, so that you guys would know who Bayon was. But there was more to it than that. But yeah. So yes, we have 3 guys from 3 different worlds, from 3 different series, all working together here looking for Hoid.
An interesting group of people to come together.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, 3 different planets too. Yeah, it's crazy.
And we know from Chris that it's not even easy to get like to and from Taldane at whatever point she wrote the essay about Taldane. That could have been in the future for all we know. But so yeah, Bayon apparently got off there at some point and is roaming around.
Yeah, well, I mean, she did, so.
That's true too, yeah.
So if we make the assumption these guys are all working for Kelsier, because he seems to have his little planet hopping organization with people all around. He knows Chris. I wonder what Chris is thinking of Bayon working for Kelsier. He's like, they met that one time.
Interesting point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get more information about this. Also, there is at least one other Mistborn character from the first book that you will see in the Stormlight Archive at some point. So,
ooh.
I was like, you said I said there were 2 of them, and I was like, if I said that, then that's not quite right, because
maybe you weren't
other places.
counting. I was about to say maybe you weren't counting Hoid in that conversation originally. I don't know.
Maybe so. Yeah, because he's not originally from there, so that would make sense. But yeah,
on that point, without actually asking for the answer, do you know where Hoid is from? Has that been revealed, or is even answering that question a spoiler?
Yeah, you don't have to answer it.
Well, I'm trying to think. So theoretically, Hoid's backstory is supposed to come in the Dragonsteel book. It was going to be 5 books originally, and then it was going to be 3 books, and then there was talk about like 1 or 2. I don't know how many books it's going to be. But yes, we have mentioned that like Hoid's backstory is supposed to come in the Dragonsteel books. And I think that we are at least relatively sure that those will take place on Yolen, the what we've been told before is the original home of humanity in the Cosmere. So probably that's where he's from. But
who knows?
Yeah. Until we hear the story, who knows? But yes, so that's our first interlude, which if you aren't paying that much attention or you're not that Cosmere aware, it is just a random, like not really that meaningful at this point at least thing where it's like, okay, these 3 guys are looking for some guy, they can't find them. We learn about the Pure Lake, which is interesting enough. But when you're in the know, then you're like, oh, this has all sorts of interesting ramifications and like what could be going on. Especially since some of these stories took place quite a while before this story. Bring up the timeline again, assuming that this fan timeline is correct. Once again, I always have to preface with that. But like White Sand takes place. Where was White Sand on Taldane? Takes place, according to this, in the year 8111, whereas the point in this book that we're at would be in the year 10,955. So that's like almost 3,000 years. Am I getting that right? Yeah.
Since we know something's crazy. Yeah, well, we know something crazy is going on because Mistborn Era 1 was only several hundred years before this. And, Damu, Bayon, and Chris met Kelsier. Like, they're all meeting up, even though they're thousands of years apart, apparently.
Yep. So yeah, some of these guys have been around for a while, it seems like. What have they been doing? Who knows? We just know that right now they are looking for Hoid. And who isn't looking for Hoid every now and then? Like, when Grump says, "Where are you, Roamer?" It never occurred to me before, but as I was reading through this part, I was like, wait, does he say, "Where are you, Drifter?" Because that Joe would love that. And then I got there, I'm like, no, it's not Drifter. Okay.
It wasn't my version.
I feel like if it had come up as soon as Joe called it the Sexy Drifter way back in Secret History, like our listeners would have lit the place up.
Probably, yeah.
Because someone would have made a connection by now.
So I really like that interlude just because of all of Bryn's like, for those of you who don't know, here's some cool stuff about a different part of the world. For those of you who do know, here's a bunch of little Easter eggs I'm throwing at you for for you to chew on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say like also Galadon is probably the first person to call him sexy. So because Galadon does think he's sexy.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah, you should have been there.
So the next interlude is Nan Balat, who I believe Nan Balat is the person that gets mentioned in that previous Shalon chapter. Hold on. Nan Balat.
Well, that tracks. They are related.
Yeah, so that's when she's having her memories. It says Nan Balat bruised, his coat torn, and you guys are like, oh, who's that? Well, here you go. It's her brother, her oldest living brother.
Yeah, weird frickin' name.
And so he's just sitting out here. He likes killing things, not people. No, never people, but animals. Just makes him feel good.
Not good.
So he's sitting on the porch of his mansion, pulling the legs off of a small crab one at a time. So satisfying.
Yeah, as you do.
He gets down there and he's just like, that's just something he does. You have to keep your sanity somehow. And I'm like, no, not like this. You don't.
Right? Yeah, no.
Not like this.
It says he doesn't like to talk about it, but it's just a thing that he does.
Because he knows he'll get fucking. Oh.
And the area of Yakoved that they're in to the west and south of Alethkar is higher in elevation and broken by mountains such as the Horn Eater Peaks, which that's a cool name. People up there eating horns. There's some wild songlings are singing in the distance. So these are crabs that make music by scraping their legs against their shells. So it's like the equivalent of crickets, but they're crabs.
Yeah, whoever was the shard for this planet was just super into crabs.
Yeah. Maybe that's the shard. It's crab. Crab at the shard.
Dr.
Zoidberg is a shard.
Is this why the listeners don't like Crab at Thee? It's because there's a
Maybe.
lot of crab action in this book.
I mean, that's why we hate Crab at the was a thing in the first place. Was because of the random crabs.
Yeah, the giant crabs.
Yeah.
No, I know. I was there.
It's been nearly 6 months since Shalon's departure, and they just had word via Span Reed that she had succeeded in the first part of her plan, becoming Yasna Kolin's ward. So if there was any doubt from before, she has succeeded. And he's like, my baby sister, who'd never even left the estates before, was preparing to rob the most powerful woman in the world. He, on the other hand, has trouble walking. He thinks I'm 23 years old and already a cripple.
So that's his dad's doing, as I understand it.
Maybe. Does it say that?
Well, I mean, they talk about like dad
yeah.
was a ruthless asshole who would beat them sometimes, so I can assume he
True.
Like, knocked him down a flight of stairs.
Yeah, it's it definitely don't sound good.
I mean, the broken leg was so bad the surgeon had almost cut the whole leg off. So yeah, that's not good. And then he finds Scrack, his axe hound, playing with like chewing on, I think it's songling is what it is. And so these damn axe hounds, they never obey properly. He's been breeding them since his youth, and you discover that the smarter an animal is, the more likely it was to disobey. It's like, oh, Scrack was loyal, but she'd ignore you on the little things, like a young child trying to prove her independence. So that's cute.
You don't have enough badges to train me.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It's cute until he's like, yeah, so I got done with the crab, so I killed my lobster dog.
Oh, he wouldn't kill Scrack, probably. Scrack is chewing on a songling, a fist-sized creature shaped like a peaked disc with 4 arms that scraped rhythms along the top. And so Scrack is like chewing a couple of the arms off, which I mean, yeah, a dog will find a little animal and like mess with it. I'm not.
Yeah, that's pets.
And so I'm sure even though it says axe hound, I'm sure you guys were thinking like a hound. Like what else is that going to mean? And then it's like her antennae rise up. And her 6 legs extend before her as she sits on her haunches.
Now, I will say, I have a dog. His ears are kind of like antennas sometimes. So, like, I was with it until it said 6 legs. And also, then I just kept picturing, like, an axe beak from Dungeons and Dragons, but a dog. And I was like, this is weird.
And then it doesn't have a shell or skin. It has, like, some sort of, like, in between. It's more pliable than true carapace, but harder than skin and made of interlocking sections. So yeah,
so it's like the Tom Brady of lobster dogs. The dog is pliable. I get it.
It reads to me like a lobster.
Yeah.
With the
if you don't
understand
the pliable joke, that's a joke from Tom Brady's book that he wrote about himself, where he keeps talking about how pliable he is.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he's an awkward guy.
So I wonder where the name Axe Hound comes from, because like this is clearly just a dog that functions as a crab dog sort of thing. Where does the axe come from?
Uh-huh.
The fuck does
Maybe
axe
they
have
can
to do
cut
with
down
any of this?
trees?
It says it has an angular face So maybe you could think of it as
Shaped like an axe?
with deep black eyes, which sounds creepy as hell.
Ooh, that does sound creepy.
It just makes me think, like, you know those zombie movies that, like, they have all the zombies in them, but they go out of their way to never say the word zombie? Like,
Sure.
This is what Brandon is doing with crabs and crustaceans in this book. He is avoiding those words like the plague while making everything like them.
Yeah, and you remember how he hates horses. It's like that's why there are so many crabs instead.
I mean, there are horses on this world, so at some point we're going to see like a crab tear one to pieces.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Like he scratches the axe hound behind its ear holes.
Yeah.
So it's just trying so hard to be a dog, but just so not at the same time.
Brandon, what did a horse do to you, buddy? We're here.
And then
you can tell us. This is a safe space.
Scrack pounces on the songling, crunching at its shell with her strong outer mandibles. So just like, okay.
Yeah, it's got like two sets of mandibles. That's good. That's what you want in a dog.
And Balat is thinking, like, am I a coward for like letting my baby sister go and do this? Like, I couldn't do it. Only a woman could get close enough. And we know from Shallan that it was her plan in the first place. I don't know that he actually establishes that here. Probably because he thinks of, like, she in her mind, after their father's death, she's the one who like stood up and took charge. This is the oldest kid who probably in his own mind, he's like, well, I'm the one who took charge, obviously. And he's like, this plan probably won't even work. And all the while having this discussion with his dog, he's still like ripping legs off of crabs.
Oh, and it actually says crab here. So disregard what I just said.
Oh, yeah. See, the crab was too small. The legs came off too easily.
Instantly proven wrong.
Yep. You said that, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure we've heard crustacean at least. But yeah, there you go. Right there.
Yep. No need to at me.
They were a broken family. Years suffering under their father's brutal temper had driven Asha Jushu to vice and Tet Wickham to despair. Only Balat had escaped unscathed. Balat and Shallan. She'd been left alone, never touched.
It's like, only I have been left unscathed. I mean, I kill animals for fun, but...
Right, yeah. And so we find out that they had another brother. He says if only Helloran had survived. Their eldest brother, then known as Nan Helloran, as he'd been the first son, had stood up to their father repeatedly. So I guess that indicates that Nan Balat, like the Nan part means like oldest son.
Yeah, or heir or eldest or something.
Yeah, something like that. And so now that their oldest brother is dead, he is Nan instead of... And we find out we got Asha Jushu and Tet Wickham, so maybe all of those are like first, second, third or something.
Yeah, presumably Shallan has one as well.
Maybe, yeah. Unless maybe only sons get it, because they like Joe might be right. It might be an inheritance thing. I don't know.
Could be. For some reason, I picture Asha Jushu as a girl, just because I think the name Asha comes up in a lot of fantasy as a female name. So
that's true too. I feel like Shallan said that she had all brothers, but I may be misremembering that.
She could, yeah. I could be projecting onto this. Also, Asha Jushu is not easy to say.
No, yeah, it's a little bit of a mouthful. I agree. And then somebody calls out, Balat. Wickham appeared on the porch. The younger man was past his recent bout of melancholy, it appeared. He says, we have a problem. How large a problem? Pretty big, I'd say. Come on. And that's the end of the... We don't get to find out what this problem is. That's the end of the thing.
We don't get to see if Nan... Vanilla ices it and says, if you got a problem, I'll solve it.
So we get our last interlude, which is from Seth. And if you notice, the two interludes that we had before this, we talked about like the symbols at the beginning of the chapters. The two before this had the same symbol at the beginning, which looks kind of abstract to me. It's like a circle with a bunch of lines through it. Seth's interlude has that picture that we've seen before of like Seth with a big ass sword and his hand up like over his face.
It even looks vaguely like a Mr. Knight costume.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with you there.
Moon Knight.
It's forever. Seth is going to be Moon Knight for Dac, and it's awesome. I'm here.
I mean, that is an incredible thing to be. Moon Knight is the best.
And so Seth has found himself in a bar, not even a nice bar. Like he's sitting on the floor with beer soaking into his pants. And it's been 5 years since he'd assassinated the king of Alethkar. And now he's just like working for some guy. And the people in the bar are like, oh, man, he'll do whatever you say. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, he totally will. Makes him stand up, makes him jump up and down, tells him to pour this guy's beer on his head. And the guy's like, what? No, that's my beer. Make him do something else. He's like, okay, hey, cut up your arm. And they're like, dude, that's messed up. It's like, no, it'll be great. And so, yeah, Seth like pulls out a knife and starts cutting his own arm. Blood seeping out around the dirty blade.
Great. So cool.
And then he's like, hey, cut your throat. And the guy's like, no, don't. What do you? He's like, no, it's fine. And Seth has to say, like, I am forbidden to take my own life. As truthless, it is the nature of my suffering to be forbidden to taste the taste of death by my own hand. And they're like, but geez, does he always talk like that? Like some important light eyes? Like, oh yeah, he's weird. And then he's like, oh yeah, I mean, you could take this guy and he could work in the mines and then you could collect his pay. He'll do like whatever you want.
Yeah, I was waiting for somebody to be like, do a flip.
And they ask, how'd you come by him? And this Took guy has this whole story about like this ridiculous story about how he found this guy and the guy pledged his eternal servitude or whatever.
Poet and I send each other Lord of the Rings memes all the time. And like apparently we've been doing it too much because I spent this entire section just going, fool of a Took.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing I think of too, to be honest. Which is ridiculous because Took is like a normal verb conjugation, but still, that's the first place my mind goes.
Yep. Yeah, when it's a name, it changes.
Yeah, that's fair. And so we find out that what really happened is that after he'd killed the king, as they were fleeing, the Parshendi like chucked this rock, and he like stood there until somebody came along. Yeah, it's like they just chucked his rock off, this oath stone is what it's called. And so he had to go and pick it up and stand next to the road. He did take off the white outfit because he's like, okay, I mean, if I leave this white outfit on, everyone's going to know he becomes very famous after that, the assassin in white. And so a guy comes along and he has to explain to him like, hey, this is my rock. If you take my rock, you can tell me what to do. And the guy kind of takes pity on him and puts him in the cart, not knowing that he's the guy everyone is looking for who's just killed the king, and he takes him out of the country. So, Seth got lucky there, I guess, in that, that they didn't find him and kill him for killing the king, although it seems like he might welcome that, in all honesty. What would these men say if they knew that the man who emptied their chamber pot was a shard bearer and a surge binder, a wind runner like the radiance of old? There's the radiance again. They keep popping up. And he actually likes this life a little more than, like, he's like, look, doing this crappy stuff is great. I don't want to be killing people. Having to serve these people who are not that ambitious, I'm all about it. They're not going to send me off to assassinate kings. This is great. I'll muck out stables and empty chamber pots and whatever. This tiny place is practically a metropolis for Bavland, the small, mostly ignored stretch of land just south of the Horneater Peaks. Apparently, it's not a mecca of culture. And so, Seth has to follow his master through the streets as he's drunk and stumbling around, wishing that the second sister, known as Noman to the Easterners, would have risen and given a little more light. And then Took falls down, and he's like, okay, this won't be the first time I have to drag my drunk-ass master back to his bed. But it turns out that there's a knife in Took's neck, and there's some guys that come out of the alley and start robbing him.
Yeah, friendly neighborhood burglars.
And so he's like, should I do something? I mean, there's infused spheres in that pouch I could draw on if I need to. And the guy, one of the guys with the knife is like, nah, he's Shin, won't hurt a Kremling. I'm telling you, they're harmless, almost like parchment. We can sell him. Maybe. And they're like, geez, this was hardly even worth the effort. A handful of chips and 2 marks. Like, killed this guy for nothing. But we can sell this slave guy. People like Shin servants. He's just a kid. Nah, they all look like that. And so one of them finds the rock, the oath stone. He's like, hey, what's this thing? And Seth's like, I'm required to tell you that you are holding my oath stone, and as long as you possess it, you are my master. And the guy's like, okay, yeah, what does that mean in precise terms and all? I must obey you in all things, though I will not follow in order to kill myself. And he thinks he also won't follow in order to give up his shard blade, but nobody needs to know about that part. And the chapter ends with the guy like, so you'll do anything I say? He's like, well, ain't that something interesting? Something interesting indeed. And yeah, that is the end of the interludes.
Breaking and just overall, today, the assassin of King Gavilar was found holding up a liquor store.
Yeah, basically. Just so we're all on the same page, part 2, the illuminating storms. It's the characters listed since Joe's already read them. Dalinar, Kaladin, and Adolin. There you go. It does not look like we will be getting some Shallan perspectives in part 2.
Dude, have we heard the name Adolin or Adolin before?
I don't believe that we have heard Adolin before.
Okay.
We have heard Dalinar.
Yes, the king's brother. I remember him.
Yep. So that's what we have to look forward to next time. Now, before we move on to anything else, let me let me do the back of the book, and I'll read the email after we do the back of the book. So let me pull up the back of the book, since Joe doesn't have a physical book to look at, and I will read it out, and then we can talk about it if we need to.
It's gonna be funny if this is different to what I'm looking at here.
It will be funny, I agree. So I'm pulling up the listing on Amazon, which has a nice large picture. So most of this is in italics. I keep wanting to say parentheses. It's italics. I long for the days before the last desolation, the age before the heralds abandoned us and the night's radiant turned against us, a time when there was still magic in the world and honor in the hearts of men. The world became ours, and yet we lost it. Victory proved to be the greatest test of all, or was that victory illusory? Did our enemies come to recognize that the harder they fought, the fiercer our resistance? Fire and hammer will forge steel into a weapon, but if you abandon your sword, it eventually rusts away. There are 4 whom we watch. The first is the surgeon, forced to forsake healing to fight in the most brutal war of our time. The second is the assassin. Maybe. The second is the assassin, a murderer who weeps as he kills. The third is the liar, a young woman who wears a scholar's mantle over the heart of a thief.
Shallan.
The last is the prince, a warlord whose eyes have opened to the ancient past as his thirst for battle wanes.
Dalinar.
The world can change. Surge binding and shard wielding can return. The magics of ancient days can become ours again. These 4 people are key. One of them may redeem us, and one of them will destroy us.
That is not what I've got here.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
There's one more little bit at the bottom that says, speak the ancient oaths. So, I'm sorry, speak again the ancient oaths. Life before death, strength before weakness, journey before destination, and return to men the shards they once bore. The night's radiant must stand again.
That bit I've got, and then I've got a little bit of a synopsis, but not the one you got.
Okay. Well, each of
you want me to read mine?
Yeah, okay, sure, why not?
So mine says, Roshar is a world of stone and storms. Its terrifying and frequent tempests have shaped ecology and civilization alike. Animals hide in shells and trees pull in branches. Cities are built only where the land offers shelter. It has been centuries since the fall of the 10 consecrated orders known as the Knights Radiant, but their shard blades and shard plate remain. Mystical swords and suits of armor that transform ordinary men into near-invincible warriors. Men traded kingdoms for shard blades. Wars were fought for them and won by them. One such war is about to swallow up a soldier, a bright lord, and a young woman scholar.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That is very different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit, there are some similarities, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So the reason that I wanted to address mine is because this Peter writes in and says, I wondered if you would like to point out to the team that the paragraph on the back cover is a quote from an in-world character. There are interesting bits to ponder over. And that's his whole email. So what I read out, which it sounds like they kind of tried to do a little similar summary without the exact quote on the back of Dac's book. And I don't know if the actual one is on the back of the second one, but each of the Stormlight books has a thing on the back cover like the one I read, and they're all by an in-universe character.
Huh.
So that's they wanted me to point that out, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point, because it's weird in that it's like, oh, the back of the book actually in a way gives information that you don't get in the book because it's like written by a person in the universe, and so, but it's not, I mean, it's not like this phrasing appears in the book. It's so it's like a little bit of extra. And Joe has some guesses already about who these 4 people are that are.
I mean, based on the description, it seems pretty clear that's who they are.
Yeah, that wasn't exactly a hard one to figure out.
So yes, that's the back of the book. I wanted to touch on that before I forgot about it. And I will try to remember as we get into the other ones to I'll touch on the back of the book at the beginning of the book so that we can theorize before we get into it. Because that probably would have been a thing to do at the beginning of this one if I had remembered that the back of the book had significance. I'm very curious now what it says on your other one. So we may have to talk about that at a different time.
Yeah.
Okay. Predicments. Let's see. What's coming? Where are we going from here?
Gee. Well, we ended part 1. Kaladin, I think he's finally kind of putting into motion what I originally predicted for him, which is he will do well as a bridge crewman. My more specific predicament for him at this point is that he's going to like turn the bridge crews around. Like he's going to create a model system and like they're going to use like makeshift shields, and he's going to basically create a bridge unit that cannot be defeated, and like they lose almost no people, and because of that he'll be recognized and then turned into a soldier or something. That would be my predicament, that he will move, he'll create such a tight bridge crew, ideal, or least amount of casualties, that eventually his bridge crew is going to be the one everybody wants to be on because they don't die. That's my immediate prediction, or excuse me, my more specific prediction for Kaladin. Shallan, we didn't get any of her this week, and then the rest of the stuff was interludes, so I feel like that's just more background information for us. I have no idea what could possibly be going wrong. Maybe somebody found out their dad is dead, and that's the big problem. That seems to be the main thing they don't want to happen right now, is for somebody to find out that their dad is dead. So, so that may be the problem that's happening back home. And then, yeah, the stuff with Sveth, like, yeah, I don't know if this guy's gonna like basically make him into a sword for his criminal empire. Like, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see. But yeah, I don't have much this week because I feel like a lot of it was kind of tertiary.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, the interludes definitely feel a little tertiary. And like I mentioned last time, Brandon often uses the interludes to kind of like show, like how we learn stuff about the Pure Lake here. It's like in the main section of the story, we probably won't make it to the Pure Lake anytime soon, if ever. So here's expanding on the world by, giving you a little view of something else. But you got a good point about Kaladin, is you guys theorized from the beginning, and maybe it wasn't a hard theory to jump to, because it's like, well, he seems to be a main character here, so he's not going to just get beaten down as a slave and die. He's going to have to turn it around somehow. And so it does seem like maybe this is the beginning of that. It just came slightly later than you initially predicted, because you didn't realize how far he had to fall.
Where we're going, like, I agree. Obviously, it's like, oh, Kaladin is setting himself up as like he's doing a similar thing to what he was doing. He's taking the people in his command under his protection, but I think there's going to be a much more cynical edge to it now. Whereas before, like, he was in the army, and he seemed like he believed in the Chain O command. He's like, oh yeah, we prove ourselves, and we'll get sent to the Shattered Plains and do the fighting. And he seems like he really wanted to protect his soldiers so that they could go to the big battle. I think now it's gonna be on the surface the similar thing. He's protecting his crew, but it's going to be the much like harder edge. It's like he's got to protect them from his their higher ups as much as the enemy. So he's going to find he's going to find himself like building up. I think I made the joke. It's like, oh, he might do a Spartacus thing, and it could build to something similar to that, where it's like, no, we will do this job you need us to do, but you got to start treating us right, and becomes this mythic figure as someone who stands up to the Bright Eyes just as much as he stands up to the Parshendi. So I think, yeah, he'll build himself a nice little following off of that. Hopefully Gary fucking dies. But I could see like Gary being told, you got to rein in these people under your command, and he can't do it because they're all standing up to him like in a bug's life. And so maybe Gary will be executed for incompetence, or hell, maybe he'll be demoted and have to join the bridge crew. That'll be funny.
Oh, ironic. Yep.
Beyond that, the interlude on the Pure Lake, not really a lot to say there. I hope we do come back there. I would love to see more of that. I have the image of one of our characters being on the Pure Lake when a storm rolls in and getting sucked down with the water into a hole. And then maybe they find like the underground stuff.
The mole people.
Yeah, sure. Subterranean crabs.
People. Sorry.
I do think Joe's pretty well right. Like, someone has discovered that Shallan's dad is dead, and so I think that it'd be a great irony if like she spends this book like doing her best to steal this thing, get away, get back, and then she gets back and finds my family's gone. The estate's been taken over. It was all for nothing. And then she's really on her own because she's got Shallan coming after her, pissed off, and now she's like got no home to go back to, so she goes on the run.
That would suck. Yep.
And Seth, I get the feeling, as much as I joke that this petty back alley mugger would just use Seth to do some petty back alley mugging, I get the feeling like it's clearly got to build to something. So whatever this guy's going to do is going to bring Seth back into the national limelight, and people are going to, even if they don't connect him with the assassin who killed King Gavilar, he's still going to build up notoriety as whatever figure he gets turned into, whether a job goes wrong or it goes so right that he becomes instantly recognizable. Yeah, the little Shin will become very notorious, and he won't be able to hide from it so much this time.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, apparently Shin aren't super common out here, as some of the people don't really recognize what he is. And a Shin with crazy superpowers to walk on ceilings or something, that would probably stand out. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Seth's gonna have his big moment, and I don't know, maybe he'll have to go back to a Lethkar, and yeah, we'll see. I don't know specifically what.
Well, we know that we don't have him as a perspective character in this next section, so whatever it is, it's not going to happen immediately.
No, his story will probably take place through the interludes, and then come back for the finale in a big way.
Could be. At least we haven't lost track of him completely. I agree. He's a fun guy, and I want to see more.
Yeah, I just like his thought process.
It is interesting, and it makes you want to know, like, but why though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair thoughts. Good. Simple. Makes sense. I like where some of these may lead us potentially. All right. Let's move on to we got one new review. Let's do that first. It's a short one. So this one is from Platinum Kid. 5 stars. Great first time Cosmere show. Fabulous show with great analysis and humor! !
Oh man, I just hearted in the chat because you slid into our hearts. You're a slider.
Nice. There you go. Thank you.
Sadly, platinum is not an allomantic metal, isn't it?
No, not that we know of. And we're pretty sure at this point that we know all 16. So, okay. Emails. We have a bunch of emails, and so I'm definitely not going to read all of them. I already read like Pete's because it was super short and just like, hey, what about the back of the book though? And we have another pretty short one that I'm going to pull out next, even though it's one of the more recent ones. This one's from James, who's just made it to episode 43. He says, hey, Data, I've just started listening to the podcast. I'm truly loving it. On episode 43, which is Hero of Ages 8, 9, 10, and 11, Joe says there's nothing good that comes from Breeze and Alrian. I thought to myself, 300 years from now, the coolest Mistborn character will be born. Anyways, thanks for a great podcast. We'll binge to catch up as soon as I can. Stormlight is my favorite, so looking forward to it. Also, Final Fantasy references are great.
Yeah. Hey, man. You know what? Wax is all right, I guess. I'll take the hit on that one. He could be a little wishy-washy until the end.
Really, Jaymee is the one who liked Alrian the least, so she's gonna have to come to terms with it, right? Yeah, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have Wax, who's pretty awesome.
I mean, Wax is great and all, but he's no Steris.
It's true. I was actually thinking that right before you said it. I'm like, and I guess maybe we wouldn't have met Steris since we're following Wax, but Steris is the best. Okay, let's do at least one more. This one is from Cliffhanger. Dac Prediction is the title of the email. Hello, Sanderlanche. I know. Hello, Sanderlanche podcast people, and me in the future if this gets read on the podcast. I've been listening from the start, but first time emailing. When you made your second Reddit post about the podcast, I commented that I was really enjoying the podcast, but wanted y'all to cover more chapters per episode. To be honest, I thought this was just going to be a little COVID project for y'all, and that it wouldn't last after the worst of the pandemic. Hence why I wanted a significantly faster pace. I never would have guessed just how long the pandemic would last, and obviously this is not a little COVID project for y'all. To be fair, you'd only posted like 3 or 4 episodes at the time. Since then, I've definitely changed my mind on the chapter pacing. Just wanted to thank y'all for the hours of entertainment, probably over 200 that I've listened to. It's such a great podcast. Side note, I don't recall any emails mentioning it, but I always enjoy Dac's "you skipped over the best part" while Data makes his way through the chapter summaries, and then he'll go on to point out something minor yet funny.
I did do that a lot, didn't I? I haven't done that in a while.
That's classic.
Yeah, we need to get some more of that.
That's classic Dac. Yeah, it's good stuff.
It just means Data's gotten better at covering the best bits.
Yeah,
there's a t-shirt. You skipped the best part.
You skipped the best part.
Second side note, a few weeks ago, I listened to the episode where Joe talks about reading introductions/forwards to books. I guess it was from the White Sand episode. He makes the point that he was taught to read it as the author's intent in putting it there is that so the readers will read it. I would say that has not been my experience. Most of the forwards/introductions for books that I have seen have been for special/anniversary editions/translations and have often contained substantial spoilers for the themes or even the plot of the book. Usually they aren't even written by the original author. If it is the author, it's for a special or anniversary edition written like it's addressing fans who have previously read the book.
Yeah. No, you make a good point. And certainly, usually I'm more careful about not reading stuff like that for our podcast. I think mainly my point was like if you're reading nonfiction, like reading the forward and introduction can be important because it will kind of tell you, hey, this is what this book is about, and this is what it's done for people in the past. This is why people think it's a good book.
Yeah.
And so you'll get kind of an overview before you even start reading on whether or not the book is worth your time.
I don't read a lot of nonfiction, so I'm not as familiar with that. It made me those comments made me think of like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where every time a new edition was published, he would publish like it with a new introduction by the author that would sometimes flatly contradict what he said in the previous one or something, like as part of the joke. So yeah, I kind of get where he's coming from.
What you're about to say, every time he published it, that we would just add one more chapter onto the end that changes the ending.
That would be hilarious, actually. Yeah, every edition is that different. The signature is "Thanks again from a fan of Spook."
With
Let me
you
see if
right
there's
up
any
until
other-
the end, my friend.
No, I think we got like 4 more, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and save them because we're running long on this one. Anything else that I wanted to do? Oh, I have forgotten for several weeks now about the Word of Brandon of the week that we started doing. And I don't remember even when the last one was, but I know that I have forgotten.
It was a while back.
several times.
I think it was probably before. Before we started Warbreaker.
Before Stormlight?
Not Warbreaker. Before Stormlight. Yeah.
It might have been. So I'm gonna bring it back this time. I have no idea if it'll fall by the wayside again by next week. But here's a short one that I find kind of interesting, but I don't know that there'll be much to talk about here. So the questioner says, in Secret History, you talked about Kelsier being attuned to ruin more than to preservation. How come Vin isn't that same way? And Brandon's response is, I have to say this very carefully. She is, for reasons that I'm not going to explain at the moment, and she isn't at the same time.
Huh. I guess like I would need to know the context of when he said that based on what books were out.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been after all of the original trilogy came out because it's after Secret History.
Right.
So, but yeah, I don't know. And Secret History didn't even come out until after Bands of Mourning. So the only Mistborn book that could have come out since this is Lost Metal.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my thought on that is basically like we've talked pretty specifically about the differences in character and like ethics and morals of Vin and Kelsier.
Mm-hmm.
And Vin did what Kelsier wouldn't have done in several situations. But the funny thing was she was kind of taught to think that way originally by Kelsier. So
Yep.
it's like this kind of weird juxtaposition where like the student really did surpass the master. It's like he's the one who opened her mind to thinking this way, but then she does it way better than he does.
It's true. She cares. Anything, Dac? Any thoughts on that one?
No, I've got no idea what to make of that. That's just a super cryptic answer.
Right? Yeah. That's kind of why I picked it, because it was so cryptic, but it's like I find it interesting. Like,
Yeah.
She is.
I don't know, because like when we talk about preservation, like human beings will, or like sense of conscious like identity, being able to make free will choices, that's from preservation.
Right.
And then a lot of the other stuff is from ruin. So like I guess my thought is like she exemplifies those preservation ideals better than Kelsier does. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Kelsier's obviously also like he's like more willing to use ruin powers, like he's got a spike through his face so that he can be like all ghosty or whatever.
He wants to live. He wants to survive. He's the survivor. So
that is what he does.
And it's like that's literally opposite of what Vin does. She like gives up her life, whereas Kelsier wants to survive.
100. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Which in a way is like more preservation. Like preservation, like the Lord Ruler, because he was the one guy that like lasted over the millennia or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, so thanks.
Vin gives up her life by choice. Kelsier sticks around to life by choice.
Yep.
Marsh,
stuck.
Well, I mean, Marsh could die if he wanted to, but
yeah,
but he stopped using the adium.
Yeah, he feels like he's just got an obligation to keep going.
He was an obligator, and he has an obligation.
Didn't even think of that until you said it. Points.
So thank you, everyone who sent us an email. If you want to send an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. For people who sent in and have not heard yours yet, like I said, I'm saving several because we had so many this time. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter and Patreon, where my reactions to The Sunlit Man are still going up at the moment. I actually still have not finished The Sunlit Man, but I'm at least a few episodes ahead of where the Patreon is at the moment, so I'm keeping out of it. So check that out if you're interested in that sort of thing. Music by Miracle of Sound. For next time, We are reading 2 chapters again. We're back to 2 chapters for the next few episodes, actually. So we're reading 12 and 13 for next time, if you are following along. So yeah, read 12 and 13 if you want to read along with us next time as we get into a couple of this section will have at least 2 perspectives we learned that we have not seen from before. We saw Dalinar passed out on the ground one time, but we definitely haven't seen from his perspective. And then
chapter is up. He is still, in fact, passed out on that same floor.
And
he was actually in a coma.
Yeah, maybe.
It's like as Dalinar awakens.
We don't even know who Adolin is. So I always said it Adolin, but that's one of those names like Yasna that has been pointed out to me that I was saying it wrong, and so I'm trying to get it right this time. So we don't even know who that is. We'll see as we get into section 2, part 2 rather, the Illuminating Storms. Thanks, everybody. 2 chapters for next time, and wasing to the time of next. Colo, P.S. Fasher. Crabs ahoy!